Hey, what's up, everyone? This is going to be a huge personal Mandela effect, which you can probably already tell by the background of this video. So, I told my mama about this one this past evening, and it's regarding the location of the kidneys. And I remember this one happening, I think it was sometime this year it happened for me. And then Jeffrey Pilkington, I think is his name. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Um, he mentioned how the kidneys location was different for him as well. Now, the strange thing, the way this phenomenon works, for some people, it works where it just happened for some people, while others it happened long ago. For me, certain ones happened long ago. For him, they just happened. They were new for him. So that's one thing about this phenomenon, shifting at different times. So I mentioned the kidney location to my mama, and she said, "Yeah, it's somewhere up in the upper back or middle or somewhere like that." And I said, "So it's always been that way for you now?" And she said, "Yeah, I think so for me." And I hadn't even mentioned the other location yet. So that was a personal shift. That's a personal shift for me because here's the thing. The first time I was affected by the kidney location change, being from the lower back, now somewhere behind the ribs in the upper back or whatever, just like the heart location change. My father's affected by the heart location change. So is my uncle, and I remember it being they'll because they mentioned the location, and I said, it's actually not there. And they're like, huh? Daddy's affected by it. Uh, my uncle is affected by it on his side of the family. Well, my mama, this version of her, this sounds so crazy, but this version of her remembers. It's 11:11 right now. I'm gonna do a heal and love thing. Okay, I always do that. All right, so I spoke to my mama about that particular ME this evening, and I told her that I remembered the kidneys being in the lower back. And I said, "But you did too before. You did too. You mentioned it." She said she has no recollection apparently of talking about the kidneys being in the lower back. Apparently, Mama remembers, this version of her remembers the kidneys being where they are now, somewhere along the lines of where they are now. But I remember speaking to her about it earlier this year, and she remembered them being in the lower back, and that was a change for her. Unless she just remembers me mentioning it, and now that's the dominant memory. That's the strange thing. Unless she just remembers me mentioning it, and that's the dominant memory now, because I mentioned it. I don't know. But she said, yeah, in the upper part of the back. So now it's like a different version of her, because, which obviously I still love the same. Obviously, we're still. It's crazy how this can happen, but that's the way it goes. Your loved ones remembering something completely different than what they did not too long ago. She said, "Yeah, it's. I remember it being where it is now, but I just spoke to her about it earlier this year, and she remembered it being in the lower back." And so that's a shift. My mama remembered it. My mother remembered it being a different place. Mama remembered it being the kidneys earlier this year. My mama remembered the kidneys being in the lower back. Now, she said, when I asked her, she said, "Yeah, in the upper part of the back, upper or middle somewhere." And I said, "But I talked to you about it earlier this year, and you said you remembered it being in the lower back." And she said, "I don't know." She didn't remember it. So, and I said, "Well, I'm going to make a video about that, I guess." And she said, "Okay." And yeah, so that's a huge personal Mandela effect. Completely new. Completely new. It's a big Mandela effect for me. Anyway, it's a huge Mandela effect for me. It's a big change. Um, especially since it's regarding something that I told my mama, and then my mama now did not experience the shift anymore. This version of mama does not recall any change, I suppose. I mean, but yet she's affected by several other Mandela effects. She's affected by several other MEs. It's one of those things. It is one of those things. So, and who knows? Maybe it's not. Maybe that's not the answer to this phenomenon. And as far as emails, I am very sorry. I've got to get back to several people regarding emails, and I've been blacking out. I've been falling over. It's like I'll be walking all of a sudden, and I'll go through. I look like Jack Sparrow. Just you'd think I was drunk. The way I just wobble back and forth, and I know inner ear infections can cause that, and various things can cause that. And I'll suddenly this evening my muscle just jolted out of nowhere and caused my hip to pop, and then my hip jolted again and caused my hip to pop back into place. Thankfully, it popped back into place. But the thing is, it was painful, and I had these random movements and things that it's annoying. But I would also, as I was walking, I was trying to do some things outside, and then I just like blacked out as I was moving. There's some more strange sounds outside tonight, but I don't feel like listening. I'm going outside. I've slept for several days. It's like I could just sleep for 38 hours. I mean, it's almost like I don't know. I don't like the way it is. But anyway, that's a personal ME. Crazy things going on. The dogs have been unsettled too. But I've been falling over and blacking out and just kind of back and forth, back and forth. I haven't been right. It's been kind of crazy. But that's a huge Mandela effect. That's a huge ME. That's a big change for me. A shift when my own mama doesn't have any recollection of me telling her about the other change and the kidneys being in the other place, and then she remembers them where they are now. So, peace. Signing out.